Tangled in Tuscany. Chapter 30. The Light That Lingers. 1 year later. The autumn light draped the vineyard in the same golden softness she remembered from her first day here, but it no longer felt like she was stepping into someone else's world. The vines bent under the weight of their fruit, their leaves flickering in the warm breeze, carrying with it the scent of ripening grapes and the faint curl of woodsmoke from the kitchen. Sophia stood at the edge of the courtyard, her camera resting against her hip, watching Luca speak with the harvest crew. His voice carried across the stones, low and certain, gestures punctuated by the easy authority of someone who belonged here completely. And now, she did too. Her boots bore the same stains as his, the same dust in the creases of her clothes. The laughter spilling from the kitchen was just as much hers as theirs. The house no longer felt borrowed. It was lived in, worn in, a place shaped by both their hands. She lifted her camera, framing him against the golden vines, catching that brief moment where the sun caught in his hair and made him look exactly as he had the first time she saw him among the rows. Only this time, there was no question of whether she would stay. The life they had built together was not an accident. It was deliberate, chosen, rooted deep. That evening, the courtyard emptied into quiet, and Luca found her, leading her toward the cellar. The air changed instantly as they stepped inside, cooler, heavy with the scent of oak, fermenting wine, and something more intimate, like secrets kept in the dark. A single bottle sat waiting on the tasting bench. Its label was plain, just one word in bold, clean lettering, Sophia. She traced her thumb over it, feeling the faint texture of the print. "You made this?" she asked, glancing up at him. "We made this," he said, and there was a warmth in his tone that curled through her. He poured a splash into her glass, the deep red catching the light, and she took a slow sip. The taste was rich and layered. Dark fruit, soft spice, a lingering warmth that settled in her chest. It tasted like late nights in the vineyard, like laughter over shared meals, like every moment they had lived since that first harvest together. He told her it was made from grapes they'd picked that year, aged slowly, never rushed. "Like us," he added, his smile almost shy. She felt something in her tighten and release all at once. He hadn't marked the year with flowers or jewelry or speeches, but with something they could pour into a glass and taste again and again. She raised her glass to his, the faint chime echoing off the cellar walls, and they drank to the season that had changed everything. The small gallery in town still smelled faintly of fresh paint and espresso when Sophia arrived, the space quiet except for the soft echo of her footsteps on the tiled floor. Morning light poured through tall windows, striking the whitewashed walls where her photographs now hung. Tangled in Tuscany, the title in understated lettering near the door. She walked slowly, fingertips brushing the edges of the frames. Vineyard mornings steeped in mist, hands stained purple from harvest. Quiet exchanges between rows where the air shimmered with summer heat. Each image was a fragment of the year that had changed her. A couple from the village stood near a photo of Luca under the fig tree, the man explaining to his wife exactly where it was taken. Sophia smiled quietly. These weren't just her memories anymore. They belonged to the people who had given her a place here, stitched into the fabric of their seasons. When Luca stepped inside, he didn't speak at first, just came to stand beside her. His arm slipped around her waist, his thumb tracing a slow arc against her side. She leaned into him, letting the quiet truth settle. Her work and her home had finally merged into the same frame. A few weeks later, she sat at the vineyard kitchen table, morning light spilling across a small stack of envelopes and printed emails. She opened one in looping Spanish script, from Argentina. "Thank you for capturing the light that lives in your land." Another, from Japan, described her images as a reminder of what it means to belong. Luca leaned against the counter, reading aloud from a French review that praised her ability to turn the earth into poetry, his accent wrapping warmly around the words, even if he mangled her name in English halfway through. She laughed, tossing a grape at him, and he caught it effortlessly. It wasn't the praise of critics, or the polite applause of gallery openings that meant the most. It was knowing her work had traveled across oceans, but still carried the pulse of this vineyard in every frame. She gathered the letters, tucking them into the drawer where they kept the best corks, each a marker of a moment worth holding on to. Outside, the vines rustled softly, a familiar whisper that felt less like an ending and more like a promise. The evening air carried the faint scent of woodsmoke, as Luca guided her along a path she didn't often take, past the last rows of vines to where the land met a stand of tall cypress. There, almost tucked out of sight, stood an old stone barn, its roof weathered and its walls half-claimed by climbing ivy. He paused at the door, the metal latch cool beneath his hand, and glanced at her with an expression that was almost boyish. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice low, warm. The hinges creaked as he pushed the door open, revealing a space swept clean, the dust motes turning gold in the last of the light. "We make this ours. Half for your studio, half for a tasting room. Photos on the walls, wine on the tables. People will see what you see here, and taste what we make." She stepped inside, the wood underfoot whispering with age, the air holding both history and promise. Turning slowly, she imagined her photographs hung along the stone walls, their textures echoing the land itself. She could picture visitors wandering through, some pausing at her images, others swirling glasses of deep red, the conversations blending into the clink of glasses and the faint hum of music. "You're not asking for my hand," she said, her voice catching on the edges of a smile. "I'm asking for the rest of our seasons," he replied simply, the sunlight catching the faint curl at the corner of his mouth. Her answer came without thought, without hesitation. "Yes." And in that bare, echoing room, with the scent of earth and grapes drifting in from the fields, she knew it was the truest promise they could make. The final harvest day arrived dressed in gold light, spilling over the courtyard where the air was thick with the scent of crushed fruit and warm earth. Voices rose in laughter and song, carrying across the hills, mingling with the rhythmic thump of crates being stacked. When the last crate landed in place, Matteo raised his arms in triumph, and a cheer erupted, bouncing off the stone walls. Sophia stood beside Luca at the courtyard's heart, their hands stained deep red from the day's work, their fingers laced in an unthinking, steady hold. The warmth of his palm matched the warmth in his gaze when he turned to her. Without a word, he cupped her face, his hands firm yet gentle, and kissed her deeply. No hesitation, no awareness of the crowd's applause, only the grounded certainty of everything they had built together. She melted into it, the din around them fading, until there was only the press of his mouth, the faint taste of wine lingering on his lips, the surety in the way he held her. When they finally broke apart, the sun was slipping low, streaking the sky in amber and rose, painting the vineyard in colors that seemed almost too vivid to be real. Her forehead rested against his, her camera swinging lightly between them, bumping softly against his chest. "Ready for the next season?" he murmured. "Always," she said, the word a vow as much as an answer. And as they turned toward the rose, the hills stretched out endlessly ahead, the last light clinging to the vines as if reluctant to let go, just as neither of them intended to.